Well, there was this attempt to overthrow Diem, which, of course, created great consternation in Saigon, and also in Washington there was fury, particularly from the Pentagon and the CIA, McCone and the Joint Chiefs, at what Harriman and Hillsman had done. It's relevant that shortly after Johnson became president, Hillsman and Forrestal left the government, and Harriman was shunted off to a meaningless position, I believe. So the question was, well, what is happening, and what sense can be made out of the situation in Saigon? What should we do? And so Kennedy sent what was called a fact-finding commission, which consisted of McNamara, the defense secretary, and Taylor, General Taylor, and they went back to Saigon and came back with a prediction, some of which was predictable. They said the war is going well militarily, it's going very bad politically. It was known in advance that that's what they would come back and report. But the surprise was that they said, we've reached a situation which we, in effect, can implement the withdrawal plan that had been in the planning works for over a year. And they said, in the final version of their report, as we have it, it has a timetable saying that we should be able to withdraw 1,000 troops by the end of December and the bulk of the troops by the end of 1965. There were also a number of other recommendations to put pressure on Diem. But it's important to note that the pressures on Diem, which was cuts in aid and so on, selective cuts, that was in one section of the report, separately from the recommendations to withdraw. The pressures on Diem were to be announced publicly. The decision to withdraw was, at least for the beginning, secret. So that some historians who want desperately to say there was no real change in policy between Kennedy and Johnson are saying, oh, this withdrawal thing was just in there to put pressure on Diem. But it says right in the report that Diem is not to be notified. So very clearly it was not pressure on Diem. And they came back, I think, on October 2nd. And on October 5th, there was a National Security Council meeting, of which we now have the tapes. And it produced a furious disagreement on the question of the withdrawal. And I believe there's an account of the meeting, or it's McNamara's account of the meeting in a recent memoir, where he says that some people just wanted to continue the war, some people wanted to implement the withdrawal plan, and McNamara himself significantly was one of those. And then others, he said probably the majority, were opposed to the withdrawal plan. But Kennedy authorized it, and we've known this since the Pentagon Papers, because NASM 263, NASM, National Security Action Memorandum of 263 of October 11th, it's a little hard to read, but it says we will implement this part of the McNamara-Taylor report, namely the withdrawal plan. And the most visible evidence of a change is that it's authorized officially in concrete, to use the in-house term at that time, in October. And then when Johnson came to power on November 22nd, because of the assassination, as early as Sunday, November 24th, he held an emergency meeting, out of which emerged his first NASM 273, dated November 26th, but already essentially agreed to, which says that the goals, the intentions of the McNamara-Taylor report remain the same, but that, of course, the intentions were to win. There's no question they remained the same, but it did not reassert the withdrawal, and instead it said the levels of support for the Diem regime will remain the same as before.